Hey everybody, this is Old Buck Dave with episode 222. It's been about a month since our last episode, believe it or not, and I apologize for that. We'll get to that later. But first of all, welcome to Old Buck Dale. What's up, buddy?
It is great to see you back, safe and sound and alive. And I've been holding down the fort uh, in uh, in the. I can't say in the high temperature zone because I think half the people that we listen to us are already in that heat dome. But basically, while you were moving around, I was checking out the neighborhood. Hey, uh, let me before you tell us about your adventure, I just wanted to let our listeners know that the old bucks. Uh, we we suffer the same things that everybody else does, and I like to think we mention a few things that other people might have gone through. So, if you got a second, Dave, bear with me while I tell you my latest uh, encounter with the system.
I've got no place I have to be. I'm there, buddy.
Yeah. So it started out with a flickering TV, uh, and if you're like me, you have more than enough backup when it comes to TV. So it wasn't a critical thing, but clearly nobody likes a TV that just keeps flickering. So we declared it broken and we declared it old, and that was the end of that. So we're going to get another TV. Okay.
All right.
So people can relate to that. We're going to go get a TV. No, nothing special. Wasn't looking for anything big, only because I have to carry it. A 70-inch TV requires two
Oh,
friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have some friends for that.
Got to have some friends and how you're going to put it up and so on and so forth. And I don't need that. So I was looking for your basic TV, and we decided, the wife and I decided we would go to Best Buy. We've uh, only because it seemed quite simple. They have some staff there, and you can get it out to the car, a few little things like that. So we take off on a Thursday night, thinking they were open till 9, but they weren't. They were only open till 7. So we get there at about 20 to 7.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, I wonder if we're going to be able to pull this off. So we walk around. We found lots of examples on the walls, and they also have lots of them in piles on pallets. There's TV. So
Yeah.
I find one, and we walked around and checked the prices as best we could on the various TVs, but nobody's helping us. You see, we realized the store is about to close, and nobody's saying hello to us. Nobody's asking us anything. Nothing. We're just walking around. I see her smiling like you know what I'm talking about. So
I just had a Best Buy experience yesterday, actually. So it's amazing that you're talking about this. Go ahead.
so we're thinking, well, maybe we're not going to pull this off tonight. We'll have to come back another day or something, or check out another supplier. But in the meantime, a young man, a young African American man, comes up in a wheelchair. He's clearly disabled. Uh, he says, "Can I help you?" And turns out he's very knowledgeable, has a great sense of humor, answered all my questions and all that stuff about this and that and the other thing. And so we choose one. In a matter of minutes, we make the exchange. I put it on a cart. I wheel it out to the front. And fortunately for me, they did have somebody there that would lift it up, and it was easy enough to do, put it in the back of the car. So all that went according to plan. And then, of course, the technology of assembling it. It's a smart TV. It's called a Fire, and you could easily Google that. So it's hooked pretty much. Fire includes Amazon.
Right. Right. Okay.
If you even hook it up to the internet, you're just another blip on their AI machine. So all in all, I get it together. I figure out how to put it together. Uh, I did call the service tech on the TV, had a phone number. I called those guys, and it was so funny. This poor young boy was trying to tell me, now on the screen, you see that left figure? Go to sound and display. And I said, where's that? He said, he's going, I can hear him. He's sighing, and
He's under pressure.
yes.
He's crumbling. He's
I
crumbling
feel
under
so
pressure.
sorry. Yeah, I felt so sorry for him because I mean, I'm a moderately skilled at this, but somebody who isn't. So finally he gets, I said, oh, there it is. Boom. I click on it. Boom. We do this, we do that. We get it working. So what I wanted to do, I wanted, the story is about what I wanted to do to thank this one employee of Best Buy. That was my goal the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I tried 10 or 12 times to call that store. No one ever answered the phone. I tried calling corporate offices. I just Googled everything that had a number on it, and they all went to that. Oh, we're sorry, due to our call volume, we
Oh
can't answer your
yeah.
call right now.
Yeah.
We appreciate your business. A technician will be with you. I never ever got through to a real person, and all I wanted to do was thank that guy. So maybe one day I'll stop in the store and actually shake his hand for his service. But I mean, I, I was just like, nobody is there to pick up the phone.
Nobody's there.
Couldn't even leave a message. So
I'll tell you why nobody could pick up the phone.
why?
Because they were dealing with me in the store. This was just the bizarre thing. I had to pick up a charging cable, okay, for an iPhone. That's another story. But
The new table, a different type of cable, isn't it? That iPhone is a
it's a
different
cable with a USB-C on one end and a lightning
Uh-huh.
connection on the other end. Okay,
Okay.
my wife's the one she had failed. We had two that failed here in the last month on the trip. It was kind of weird. But anyway, so I thought, well, and I was close to Best Buy. I was picking up some other stuff. I thought, okay, I'll just run into Best Buy and I'll get this. And oh, by the way, my earbuds are shredding.
Of
I'm going to
course.
maybe just pick up another set of earbuds. Okay.
Sounds simple enough.
So it sounds simple. So of course somebody accosts me as I walk in, and I said, well, I'm looking for a charging cable. Okay, let me see. So yeah, they're over there. Okay, so I go over there, and they're all labeled nicely, and I pick out the one I want. And another guy immediately descends upon me and says, "Can I help you? Can I help you? Is there anything else?" I said, "Well, actually, yeah, I'm going to probably pick up a set of earbuds, wired earbuds, because mine are fraying. They're just about dead." And I could see where they were in the other part of the store. He says, "Well, wait a minute. Let me find out exactly where they are for you." And he's got his cell phone or his little pad, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
he's tapping furiously into that. And I'm trying to be patient here. It's like, I know where they are, okay? I know where they are. And he said, and then he finally says, they're right over there with the Apple stuff. It's another shocker. And he said, I'll send someone over to take care of you. I thought, okay. So I go over there, and of course they're not accessible. All right, they're behind a locked
Yeah.
door.
Yeah. A lot of pilferage going on, I'm sure, in those
I
stores.
guess. So I'm waiting and waiting, and finally a girl shows up, and she says, "Oh, are you Dave?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Dave." She says,
You go by name now. Okay.
"Yeah." And she says, "Well, I'm here to help you." She says, "What do you need?" And I said, "Well, I need a pair of wired earbuds for my iPhone." And then she's going into another frantic thing, like, they're right there, okay? And she says, "Oh, I need the key. I got to get the key to unlock the cabinet." She disappears for like 17 minutes, okay? She
Yeah.
finally comes back, and yeah. So the rest of the thing went okay. They got him and checked out, blah blah blah. But that's why they weren't answering the phone. They were all flustered looking for keys and trying.
Both of them right in the store.
It was
So,
just weird. It was such a weird feeling.
well,
It's
this
like,
is, I'm coming up to another point here because I want to mention something. Uh, I had another encounter that took, let's see, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's 5, 6, 7 months to resolve. And this is with Quest Diagnostics.
oh,
You talk about a hard nut to crack. Now they're great when they don't make a mistake. but trying to correct the mistakes is really, really the problem. And of course, the new AI thing, a lot of times you got to deal with that first. You got to work your way through that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm your virtual assistant. I'm Leroy. You can tell me what you want. And I say, problem with the bill. You can choose from these three options. Problem with the bill. Click A if you need assistance. So anyhow, I did that for a long time. I ended up sending them copies. Did this finally? I finally did get to a person who said, "I said, can we communicate another way?" And he said, "Well, I'll give you an email." I said, "An email." They do not call you back. There's no communication whatsoever. They just gave you a way to get to them. So they said, "Would you send us some pictures of this or that or something?" And I did. So I'm still in limbo of whether they understand that they misplaced the payment and they keep billing me for it.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Good luck
this
on
is
that one.
yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it's just to getting to a real person that you can talk to, and then you think you got it, but it just goes round and round and round. But it brings me back, or it brings me to my point of the day is, and I want to challenge our listeners to help me with this. I think we need to give another name for the acronym AI.
Okay.
Technically, we consider that to be artificial intelligence, right?
Correct.
So, I've been writing things down. I thought something like aggravation included, you know.
Aggravation included.
uh, I was thinking of all the things that you could put that I think is going to result from this, because as far as telling you uh, who wrote the symphony, well, you know what I mean. Who wrote the song?
Song.
Yeah,
Okay.
who wrote this song called this? AI will come up with it right away. But hey, I have a problem with my bill. You're billing me something. I think AI is going to be a giant, absolute giant quagmire.
Awful information.
Awful information. Yeah. So all you listeners out there, please write in with your thoughts of what AI should be designated as, and we'll tag that right now. So as time goes by, you heard it on the Two Old Bucks.
There
We'll
you
get
go.
another name: aggravated insults, agonizing idiots, whatever you want to call it. Send us your thoughts on that. But AI is going to be a two-edged sword for sure. So, that's my local endeavors. Any other trouble just amounted to working outside in the heat a little bit and calling it a day. So I want to hear more about your adventure. I sent you on this great trip. What'd you
You did
tell me
send
all
me on a
about it?
great trip. Well, yeah, last episode we were kind of wrapping up Copenhagen, and so we'll start from there. We were going on our first big cruise, first real cruise. We'd been on we jumped in the middle of a Norwegian cruise a couple years ago. Just did 2 nights, I guess, there. And we had a little adventure thing on a catamaran, but I wouldn't call that a cruise. So this was it. But yeah, we had an interesting time. I'd say we had a good time. You know, our objectives were to try cruising and using a smaller ship. We didn't. There were only 650 people on this ship, and you know, we wanted to see the Scandinavian, the Baltic countries, and most important, we wanted to stop in Lithuania and have a family reunion for my wife with all her relatives
Oh,
in Lithuania and Russia. So the cruise that we did was the cruise line we used was Azamara, and they called this their intensive Baltic cruise. Okay, and as I said, we had 655 guests from 16 countries. 430 of those were from North America, U.S., Canada, and Mexico, with most of those being the U.S., or 2/3 of those being the U.S. And then the U.K. was next with 77, Australia 75, New Zealand 15, and it tapered off from there. And the crew was from everywhere around the world. The captain was Spanish, the navigator was Ukrainian. I had a nice chat with him. So it was, it was. I think it was a good experience. It's really the people that cruise this line are really loyal to the line. They told 82% of the people on our cruise were repeat customers. And we're talking to people that, how often do you cruise? Well, I do 30 days a year. I do 60 days a year. I do 90 days a year. I'm doing 120 next year. One guy was doing 180 next year. He said, that's around the world. He said, I did that before. I'm going to do it again. Okay. But it was there were people are really loyal to this line, and maybe that's with every cruise line. I don't know. But anyway, we pushed off from Copenhagen. Our first stop was Visby, Sweden, which is an island that's owned. It's part of Sweden. It's kind of midway between Copenhagen and Stockholm, and it used to be, it was very strategically located. It used to be bigger than Stockholm. It was a very important strategic point for people getting through the Baltics and for defensive purposes and that sort of thing. I uh, I did a bike tour, signed up for the bike tour on Visby when we did the land excursions. Now they listed this as strenuous, and the guy said it was going to be 22 miles. I don't think it was 22 miles, and it definitely wasn't strenuous. But there were some people on there that hadn't read the strenuous part, and so we had a couple near accidents and people that just weren't up for it, and we had to stop and rest. And oh, I got to find a men's room, and one woman was just couldn't do it, so they had to stop and kind of stop her at one point and come and pick her up on the way back. But it was interesting. We went to ended up our ultimate destination was it had been the summer castle of the King of Sweden's son and daughter. So, I mean, it wasn't anything elaborate, but it was kind of nice, and we had snacks and that sort of thing there. And the leader of the tour was a retired electrical engineer, so we kind of bonded right away. We talked about this, and I'm trying to stay up front because I don't want to get back in the peloton there where crazy things are happening. And it turns out we're coming to a little mogul though, and I'm thinking he's not going fast enough, and I'm second in line. He's not going to make this, and sure enough, he didn't. I kind of went sideways part way up this thing, and then I basically almost run into him. Another woman almost runs into me, and it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird, but that was the only real mishap we had. Got back, survived that, and then we had our second minor catastrophe, which was our room safe would not open. Of course, every room's got a little,
This is on the boat.
on the boat. Yeah, on the boat, little. And so I'm trying it, and it's not using the codes. It's just like a real weak beep, beep, beep. I'm thinking, oh man, it's not opening. The battery's dead. The battery's dying. Okay, so I call the cabin attendant, and I said, I can't get this thing open. I think the battery's dead. And he plays with it for a while, and he's like, he's experiencing the same thing I am. And so he calls another guy. Another guy comes in with kind of a key. There's a special place you pull a little lever up, and there's a key spot there. And the attendant says to the guy, I think the battery's dead. And this guy, he's horsing this key in and out of it, and he's fighting it. And he says, I think the battery's dead. And the cabin attendant says, yeah, that's what I told you. I'm thinking, that's what I told you. So this goes at one point. Now we have four guys in the room. Okay, each one has come in with a bigger implement of destruction, and the guy says, "We're gonna have to drill a safe."
Oh my.
And he says, "You don't want to be around for this. It's going to be real noisy." So it was going to be. I think it was time for dinner anyway, or something. So we just disappeared for a couple hours, and when we got back, we had a new safe. They had said, well, is there anything in it? I said, yeah, there's stuff in it. That's passports and that sort of thing. But,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
all,
You encourage that we do have to open it no matter what. Yeah.
we do have to open it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was again, just a minor catastrophe. Next stop was Stockholm. And I'm trying not to make this a travel log, but just really talk about little things that happened. We'd been to Stockholm a couple times. Uh, uh, so we took a boat trip, went out to an island, did a nice long walk around the island. It started to get lost on the gravel trails on the island. I thought, well, I had a lousy map. My GPS was just not working there. And it's kind of got lost, but and the first guy we asked didn't know. He couldn't help us. But then some other people said, "Yeah, we think if you walk up the hill here and it's going to branch, and you take the right branch, and da 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 da," and that turns out so everything was great there.
And the weather was conducive for that.
Actually, that was a warm day. It got up to like 78 that day.
Oh,
That was
wow.
one. That was probably our. That was our next to the warmest day. I think. I think we hit 80 in Gdansk. Uh, but yeah, and found the hotel that we had stayed in like 12 years ago. Or at least my wife found it. She says that's the hotel. I said, really, really, yeah, and she had me convinced. So yeah, and so yeah, so that was Stockholm. We just took it easy there. It was an overnighter there, and but it was good to see the city again. Next place was Helsinki. And I'd been to Finland a couple times, stayed over, in a connection in Helsinki, but never really got to see the city. So we really had an excellent walking tour. The guide was really good. The big thing in Finland is the sauna. As we say sauna, but they say the correct pronunciation is sauna. And so we talked a little bit about the sauna. Every house has a sauna. They have one of these big Ferris wheels in town, like every city has now. One of the compartments is a sauna. Okay, you can do a sauna there. So it
You
was
mean you mean those big ones like that one that you see in
like in London,
well, they have one in Orlando too, or something like a big Ferris wheel like that. That
big
kind of
big
thing. A
big
big
Ferris.
one,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You get to
most.
the top, you can see a million miles in both directions or something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was some marching band going through town, and then they ended up. So I got to took some pictures of the band marching up the street, and then there was a band shell, and they were playing in the band shell later in the day as we got there. That was kind of cute. Um, we ended the tour at the Helsinki Library, which has been voted like the number one library on the planet.
that. Wow.
And believe me, it is. I can't imagine another library more complete, elaborate than this. I mean, it wasn't just books, they had everything there. You could check out power tools. They had they had looms. There were people weaving on looms there. They had 3D printers. People were building stuff with 3D printers. They had full kitchens. You could book a kitchen in there and have a party in there. They had two recording studios. We could have done some bucks there, It was it was incredible. It was really, really, really impressive.
That kind of stuff is always it seems so people friendly, if you know what I mean. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sitting there out of envy thinking, holy smokes. I mean, if my my library card happens to be a day overdue, I have to go through the whole process before it can even go. They'll be in the shelves, you know what I mean? It's like
I don't think
so.
I think the books are free. Everything's free.
That sounded like something really interesting to have
Oh,
seen
it
that.
was really spectacular. It really, really was. And of course, during the tour, now the our tour guide explained about all the people that had invaded Finland, and a fun fact when Sweden took over, and this was centuries ago, uh, they couldn't understand the Finnish language. The Finnish language is very different. Okay, very very different, and all the words are very long. So in order in a in order to figure out where they were in town or to tell each other where to go, they put an emblem of an animal at the corner of each block on the building. So on the one building on the one block there would be a bear. The next one there would be a bird. The next one there would be a lion. The next one there would be a kangaroo,
Hmm.
and so it went. So the Swedes would just say, well, meet me between the lion and the kangaroo or something like that. I thought that was interesting anyway. But they talked about the Russians invading way back when, and at first the Russians were okay, and they built some stuff for them. Then they turned bad, and and this was a story I heard time and again at every Baltic uh, city that we stopped at. They absolutely all hate the Russians. They are fearful of the Russians, and of course not real happy about.
In other words, you sense that they always looking over their shoulder.
Yeah, more than that, building up their militaries,
Oh boy.
training. Um, I learned, and I learned a lot of stuff from onboard lectures. We had a guy, Dr. Craig Benjamin. I call him the professor. He's Australian, but he taught at a university in Michigan for a long time, and uh, and then retired back to Australia. He did like a 1 hour lecture before every stop, and it was just spectacular. Gave you just the right amount of history and politics and demographics, and had dinner with him one night. And I asked him if he would be a guest on the podcast, and
Oh, cool.
amazingly, he said yes. So I'm looking forward to getting hold of the professor. Next stop was Kotka, Finland, which was just is another island east of Helsinki. The big ships can't get in there, but we could get in because we were a smaller ship. And it was just a pleasant day walking through the town. They've got a lot of gardens, sculptures. They've got like a national park there with waterfalls and everything. So it was just a pleasant, relaxing day. And they have these in the parks. They have these glass buildings, glass sided buildings that you can use in the wintertime. They're like outfitted like a living room in a house, and you can go in there, and it's got a little fireplace and a couch and everything. So that's how they hang out there and outside in the winter. It's pretty cool.
Again, very user friendly, huh?
Very user friendly.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Dave, when you traveled around, did you see a lot of homeless people?
I did not. I saw.
Whoa, I wonder
Yeah.
how is that possible?
How's
There's
that
some
possible?
place on earth where there's not full of homeless. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I saw some in London, which will be like the next episode. I'll talk about London.
Mhm.
I did see some in London, not a ton, but I really didn't see them anywhere else. No.
So this ship
Different system.
the ship was programmed to get you to the most optimal location. To kind of pull in parallel park and you could check out the neighborhood and then you jump back on where it was nice and cozy and
Yeah.
huh.
And while you're sleeping overnight, the ship is trucking off to the next destination. Which is kind of, it saves you a lot of packing and unpacking.
I think we chose well when we sent you on this
Yeah.
trip.
So our next stop was Tallinn, which is the capital of Estonia. Beautiful city, beautiful old city. Did another bike tour there. Stayed in the city on this bike tour. We didn't go really anywhere outside the city. Our tour guide was a journalist, and this was like a weekend gig for him, so he knew his stuff. Uh, we stopped at an old prison that basically the Russians had used, to put, to put the Estonians in, and there was a toppled statue there. I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Oh, that's Lenin."
Oh boy.
That's Lenin, yeah. Uh, and similarly, they had down by the waterfront. They had saunas, and they had these little modular meeting rooms and that sort of thing. This company started out making saunas, and then they turned them into. They could also make like little mini house. You could like one of these like micro houses, and they rented them out as meeting rooms and that sort of. It was kind of interesting. And then they had the glass bubble rooms again for people hanging out outside on the street outside the restaurants. And these were just like a big, like a glass, not a
I,
wooden
I
roof
think
or.
I think I seen a picture of that someplace. Somewhere. So I didn't know where that was at. It's literally a glass bubble.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty customer friendly, I
Pretty
guess.
people friendly. Yeah,
People
people
friendly.
friendly.
Yeah. We stopped at a snack bar, and they had three different gluten-free beers to choose from. And amongst the riders, there was an Australian couple. There were two Canadian couples that said, and this was late morning. Okay, they said, "Oh, we're getting beer." They said, "You better get beer with us too." I'm like, okay, I'll get a beer. So we had a good time. There were two gals on the ride with us that were sisters. One was from Philly and one was from Austin, Texas. The other from Philadelphia. Ginny and Nene. They were they were on the tour guarding their parents. Okay, their mom was 91
Oh,
and their stepfather is 94, and they figured they came along just to try to keep them out of trouble. And we got to meet them later, and they were just terrific. They were they were so full of full of piss and vinegar, and the mother certainly didn't look 91 at all. She was just a good looking woman. Now, and I'm talking to the stepdad, and it turns out he is the retired CEO of Westmoreland Coal Company.
of Westmoreland that I know?
The Westmoreland that you know.
Oh
Do you
my
believe
soul.
that? Yeah. He had retired 20 some years ago. But yeah, he's like, Kenneman. Oh, yeah, yeah. Kenneman. Oh, yeah, we saw you too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
that was good.
a lot of coal in those days they
A
dug
lot
out.
of coal. Yeah. So that was an interesting coincidence. A couple of the other people we met, Alan and Jackie, were really sweet. They live in Atlanta now. He's originally from New England. I can't remember the town. She's from England. He's from New England. Okay, so they were really sweet. Some other folks we met there. Interesting in Riga. Again, the guy says, really don't like the Russians here, and you could see different plaques on like different buildings or historical things where they're explaining it in six different languages, and you'd see the Russian was all scratched out or spray painted out. So
Oh my.
yeah, it's there's no holding back.
I think I'm sensing their concern about the fall of Ukraine is probably just the first domino in the conquest of the original USSR, right? Is that what they
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah. So in Riga's town square, they have the city spelled out RIGA in big 7 foot letters. So I said to my wife, I said, take a picture of me in front of the Riga sign. Well, when I looked at the picture, I'm in front of the IGA sign. No,
No, no
no R.
R.
Now we did the same thing in Varna, Bulgaria, where I asked her to take a picture of me, and of course, in that picture, I was in Arna,
Arnabo, yeah.
so she's consistent. But but that was the next stop was Klaipėda, Lithuania, which was the family reunion. So my wife's cousins were there. She's got first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, and that's really she's got a bunch of one fella came in, Ignatz came in from Moscow for
Ooh,
so that was very nice. Uh, you remember we had Valentin on here, interviewed him,
yeah.
and he and his wife Nada now live in Lithuania. He's an IT guy. He's got a good job. Works from home. Uh, Interestingly, when after we toured Klaipėda a little bit, he took us to their house, and on the way, he said, "This is an area where they do military training and war games." He says, "Watch the GPS in the car." All of a sudden, we're in Stockholm, Sweden. And on the way back in the same place, oh, we're in Poland. So we're somewhere in Poland now. Okay. So they're serious about that. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I just wanted to say greetings to Val and Nada, Ildute, Ilyone, Jonas, Ignatz, Yorate, Diana, and Edvinas. We call him Eddie. I think I might have mentioned him before. He's a young fella. He broke his back.
Oh yeah,
He's
you told me about that. That was a
paraplegic,
sad case, yeah.
and he's just got such a great attitude. I mean, he is just so you really feel pumped up being around the guy because he just does not spend 1 second feeling sorry for himself. He's just, he's continuing with architectural school, and so it was real sweet. We're a really nice time. Uh, we had to shorten the visit because you know, Russia has an outpost there. Part of there's a piece of Russia there called Kaliningrad, and that's basically their naval base in the Baltic. And they were doing their own war games, practicing apparently. So our ship had to, as we left, as we were to leave Lithuania and go to Poland, we had to go far out at sea. So it added a couple hours to the trip. So thanks again to the Russians for that. And
A little touch of reality there.
yeah, yeah. Next stop was Gdansk, Poland, which is really strong influence, Dutch architecture and some German influence. This place was rubble after World War II, so the city's all rebuilt, and it's dazzling. It's really dazzling. World War II started here in Gdansk. That's where the first shots were fired in World War II, and the Cold War. The beginning of the end of the Cold War was in Gdansk. If you recall the Gdansk shipyard strikes and Lech Walesa, it all happened there. The other good thing about Gdansk is I got some gluten-free pierogies there. So,
Oh, there you
what do
go.
you think of that? We'd go back to Gdansk. The next stop was the terror-filled portion of the trip. Okay, this was we were headed to the island of Bornholm, the city of Rona, which is part of Denmark. Now, the weather was kind of kicking up that morning, and it was too bad for us to navigate into the dock, into the city dock.
Oh,
You had to make an S curve, and then you had to make another sharp turn, and it was narrow. And because of the winds, we just said it was not safe to do it. So they launched the lifeboats, the tenders, to
oh,
get people in. And the other folks were saying, well, yeah, they do this. That's not a big deal. And we saw them, practicing an empty boat, chugging along out there, and it's kind of going through the chop. And the forecast was wind gusts to 24 miles an hour, 24 knots, I guess. And but by the time we got down there and got our numbers to get on one of the boats, 220 people had already gotten off the ship, okay, and onto the island. We were about fifth in line to get onto one of these boats, and one of the two mooring lines broke, and so they just unhooked the other mooring line and let the boat go. It only had about 15 people in it. And they said, well, you're going to have to wait till the next one. And then the weather kept getting worse and worse. And they said, well, we're going to put up.
I'm hoping you made a choice here.
Well, we didn't have a choice. They said, we're putting a hold on the shore,
Oh,
okay? And then they changed it from a hold to a dead cancel. They had pushed us back up into the ship, so we're all huddled up there waiting to find out what's going to happen. They said, it doesn't look good. And the actual weather, the gusts were up to 48 knots. The weather
yeah.
was, the seas were really choppy. The shore excursions were all canceled. So the people that went to shore were all put into this concrete warehouse with only one bathroom. They were having a really bad day.
You dodged a bullet there, boy.
Oh, did I ever dodge a bullet? I was 5 people away from being part of that. And it took them forever to get these people back because it was about a mile. It took over an hour, I know, to get each one back. Sometimes a lot longer than that.
When you think about those boats coming to a boat, and the swells are moving up and down, and you want to get from there to the plank and stuff. I mean, there had to be some seasick people on that trip.
Oh, there were. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about
People
that.
came back saying you couldn't even walk on the floor, and one
Yeah.
woman had to go to the hospital. She got all beat up. It was spooky. It was spooky, and it was like about 8 o'clock before they got everybody back on board. 8 p.m. So it was a real bad day, and we were really lucky. So
Oh, I'm glad that worked out for you.
yeah,
Otherwise, you'd be telling a totally different story.
yeah, and I'll kind of buzz through the rest of this. Our next stop was Wismar, Germany. Just a nice a little German town, real pretty. We did a 1 hour bus tour in German. Okay, now I said to the guy, I said, "Are you?" He said, "Well, I'll speak some English, but I'll speak mostly German." He didn't speak one word of English, and he did not take a breath. He had the world's longest sentence. He just kept going and going and going. Finally, after about 40 minutes, we were at a corner, and I said, "Can we get out here?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Can we get out here?" He says, "I'm not holding anybody back." It's like, okay, goodbye. So that was our experience in Vismar. The next thing, we went through the Kiel Canal. Now, that is a canal it's 60 miles long, and it connects the Baltic Sea with the North Sea. So it was real fascinating. It kind of runs north to south, and it comes into a river, and then the river empties into the North Sea.
Wide enough for two ships to pass your size? No.
Well, yeah, two ships our size, no. There were places where like you had to pull over and wait for somebody to pass by.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was room enough for us and small pleasure boats to be on there at the same time. It was real interesting because people are waving to you the whole way, and you're seeing little interesting things. So at this point we were 56 hours at sea, and ended up in Southampton, England. So that was the next episode. I'll talk about our time in London and MdDS. We both experienced MdDS, and you have to listen to the next episode to find out what that is. But before I wrap it up, I just want to say one other thing. I want to do a shout out to some people we met, Larry and Tina from Norfolk, Virginia. Larry became a fan. Okay, so we're going to have him on the show sometime also. He's a buck. He's buck material for sure. Tina could enter the walking Olympics and probably medal. So, but that was the trip. That was the cruise, the 15 days. It was an interesting experience. Some pluses and minuses. Would I cruise again? Maybe if the place and time was right. Are we cruisers? No, we're not cruisers. No, it's just not our lifestyle. But amen to the people that like to do that. That's fine. To each his own, I guess.
Well, that sounds like you had a good time. Glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah.
Most important thing is you're back in town, and you're well, and that's all good to go. So,
and I'll be here for
this is the end of this episode.
This is going to be the end of this episode. Yeah, and of course, in a week we're going to North Carolina. We're going to Black Mountain, North Carolina. So we're going to try to hide out there for most of the rest of the summer. See what happens.
See what the temperature is up there.
It's hotter than I would like it to be, as it turns out.
We'll talk about that.
Thanks for putting up with the long discourse here, and it'd be interesting to see what some of the listeners have to say if they've been to any of these places, what their impressions were. So, with that, this is Old Buck Dave saying, "Take care, everybody," and talk to you next time. We'll do some London town.
And this is Old Buck Dale saying, "Don't let AI intimidate you." Send us your thoughts on anything and everything. And like I said, we're just like one of the folks out there.
We know what you're going through.
We know what you're going through. So I hope we're sparking a little thoughts in your mind too. So Old Buck Dale saying thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time.